Hello, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching the main edition of World News. Today we'll focus on the alleged misuse of public funds by the previous Polish government and the success of the Polish volleyball team at the Paris Olympics. That and much more coming up in just a minute, but first let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Polish former ruling party rejects accusations of fraud. The Polish Prime Minister says law and justice misspent at least 23 billion euros. The Ukraine offensive in the Kursk region continues. 76,000 Russians have been evacuated from the area. And some US media are saying that Donald Trump is losing credibility as the presidential campaign is ramping up. Polish governmental probe into mishandling of public funds by the former ruling opposition continues. Poland's largest opposition party has denied Prime Minister Donald Tusk's accusations about mishandling funds. Tusk says that 23 billion euros had either been inappropriately spent or even stolen by the former Law and Justice government. 62 people related to the former administration are now facing charges and 149 notices have been filed to the prosecutor's office. Meanwhile, Law and Justice says that it has launched a website to point out the irregularities of the current administration.
Jarosław Kaczyński is the leader of Poland's largest opposition party. Until October 2023, it had been in power. At his latest press conference, he denied fraud accusations put forward against his party. The accusations had been earlier presented by the Polish Prime Minister, who is also regarded as Kaczyński's biggest political opponent, Donald Tusk. Kaczyński has responded by calling Tusk's government pathological.
The recent press conference was an example of such pathology.
Kaczyński is referring to this agreement, signed by the Ministers of the Interior, of Justice and of Finance. Its aim is to coordinate the security services' actions, and especially those related to the recovery of state funds. And there is much to recover, apparently, according to the Prime Minister. Donald Tusk says the National Tax Administration is investigating 90 units for the potential inappropriate spending of public funds under the Law and Justice government. This amount is estimated to be 23 billion euro. 62 people are facing charges in relation to this issue, and 149 notices have been filed to the prosecutor's office.
Things such as this agreement serve, among other things, to ensure that no more public money can be swindled, be it from state-owned companies or the state administration on the supposed publicity stunts for media outlets that serve those who are in power, sometimes on their knees. If someone is talking about 100 billion zloty, it may, of course, be a completely imaginary sum, or it may not be imaginary at all, but it may be needed in order to take a great deal of money away from local Poland in the coming years or in the coming year, and in this way also to escape from the excessive deficit procedure.
Tusk, in turn, believes it was a so-called closed system. The PM says the money was siphoned through things such as picnics and other events.
This all adds up to form a complete picture which involves the use of public money, entire offices and their employees for the purpose of an election campaign for the benefit of the ruling party. This mechanism is most disturbing. In this system, everyone had their own plot where they wasted, or to put it bluntly, stole public money.
The opposition points out, however, that such an agreement has no legal basis.
This is some sort of a joke. 3 ministers, or is it 2 ministers, together with the Prime Minister, have signed a declaration about them now trying to reach settlements, even though they have been talking about it for 7 or 8 months. One has to be blind and deaf not to see that this is a facade, an escape from this government's indolence.
According to the current government, irregularities were found in 9 ministries, and authorities are still investigating to see if there had been any more.
Chaos erupts in Russia as Ukrainian forces are expanding their operations on Russian soil. In addition to the previous incursion into the Kursk region, Ukrainian units have also breached the neighboring Belgorod region. Russian troops, which have been hastily transferred to the area, are taking heavy losses.
Ukrainian HIMARS have hit a Russian convoy on its way to respond to the Ukrainian advance towards Kursk. Dozens of soldiers were killed in the attack. Until just a week ago, such an attack would have been impossible. as the US had forbidden Ukraine from using the arms it provided against Russian territory. Ukrainian troops have captured the town of Sudzha, which hosts a Gazprom facility that controls the flow of natural gas through the Brotherhood pipeline. Despite clashes in the area, the pipeline remains operational, transporting gas from Russia through Ukraine to Hungary, Slovakia, and Austria.
Greetings from the town of Sudzha. The news from here is that the town is controlled by the armed forces of Ukraine. The situation here is calm, all the buildings were taken. The strategic object here, namely the Gazprom facility, is controlled by the 99th Mechanized Battalion of the 61st Steppe Brigade. I wish you safe skies.
Observers say that Moscow was poorly prepared to defend Kursk and is pushing reinforcement in from other areas. These, in turn, are vulnerable to Ukrainian ambushes and strikes, as Kiev has good reconnaissance in the area. The Ukrainians have managed to hack roadside cameras in the region, giving them real-time footage of Russian troop movements. Additionally, the Russians have not been hiding their troop movements very well, as TV reporters have been doing live transmissions in front of military convoys in clearly identifiable locations. One resident of the Kursk region has been arrested for filming the damage caused by Ukrainian attacks and charged with espionage, a charge to which he has admitted. Additionally, Russia has banned the Signal secure messaging app, a few days after banning YouTube throughout the country. Ukrainian troops have also entered the Belgorod region, south of the main attack into the Kursk area, further stretching Russian forces thin. Raids have been launched into Belgorod before, but they were limited in scale, involving only those units of the Ukrainian armed forces that are composed of Russian dissidents. Given that these had been only short-term raids, their purpose was not to hold ground. The current operation in Kursk involves regular Ukrainian troops.
Greetings. The 252nd Battalion is now in the village of Poros, in the Belgorod region. Glory to Ukraine and glory to the 252nd Battalion.
Russian authorities have enacted the state of counter-terrorism operation in 3 regions neighboring Ukraine, namely Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod. Evacuation orders have been imposed on some border villages, with 76,000 people already having left their homes. Just prior to the start of the Kursk operation, Russian troops had been making some progress in a push towards the town of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. The Ukrainian advance into Russia has forced Moscow to redeploy troops away from the Donbas to defend its own territory. It remains to be seen whether the Ukrainian plan was just to complicate the Russian army's operation and halt its advance, or if they intended to capture, hold, and occupy Russian territory.
War in the Middle East claims more lives. Palestinian authorities say that more than 100 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school in Gaza. Israel claims that it targeted a militant command center and that the number of civilian casualties reported by the Hamas-controlled authorities is false.
On Saturday morning, Israel struck a school in Gaza City. Several people displaced from other parts of the Gaza Strip were sheltering in the building. Hamas-controlled authorities claim over 100 people were killed in the strike and dozens more were wounded.
This is a religious school housing displaced people. It doesn't belong to any faction and has nothing to do with any conflict. All the martyrs were civilians. There were no military personnel or anyone related to the resistance.
Israeli authorities claim the strike had targeted a command center located in the building. According to Israel, around 20 militants, including senior commanders from Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, were present there. Israel also disputes the number of civilian casualties, claiming the numbers were inflated.
There was no warning. Thank God, most of the people were in the ablution room, so they only sustained injuries. However, those who were inside the mosque were all killed. Even the floor above, where women and children were sleeping, was completely burned.
The attack has drawn international condemnation, including from EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell. Israel has long accused Hamas of placing command centers and weapon depots on the civilian buildings, including on the schools and hospitals.
Brazilian authorities have found the flight recorder from a crashed plane and are now analyzing data from it. The authorities are also working on identifying the bodies of 62 victims of the incident. Although all the passengers and crew members have died, the falling plane didn't hurt any residents.
This video was recorded by an eyewitness at the site of the incident and shows the remains of a plane that crashed in the Brazilian town of Vinhedo near São Paulo. The services are working on identifying the victims and securing the site.
We are here with the best we have in our team, the best experts from Brazil and the world of the Federal Police.
The plane crashed around 1:30 p.m. local time. It took off from Cascavel in the state of Paraná and was destined for São Paulo's international airport. The airline said it could not provide any details about the cause of the accident.
The plane passed over us. It was going to fall over our home. It started to come down, and we said, "It's falling, it's falling." When we saw the plane again, it had crashed. The flames were very high, they burned everything. It was a horror scene, horrible. It was very real. We prayed to God so it wouldn't fall on our home. The plane crashed at my house. We are fine. There were 3 people in the house, me, my wife and the maid. At the time of the collision, we thought it was a helicopter crashing, and suddenly we saw the aircraft exploding in the backyard of my house.
Apart from the condominium complex suffering some damage, nothing severe has happened to Vinhedo's residents. However, some of the passengers and crew members' bodies have been so damaged that only DNA tests can help identify them.
And now on to the US presidential election. Republican candidate Donald Trump has held another rally, this time in Bozeman, Montana. The event saw thousands of Republican voters gather in support of the former president. But despite these numbers, several American media outlets have assumed a more critical position on Trump's presidential efforts and credibility. Here's the details.
Trump's credibility is under fire from various media outlets. Compared to previous campaigns, this is a much more straightforward approach. Trump's most recent news conference was meticulously analyzed, and 7 lies were reported. Donald Trump lied when he said the storming of the Capitol on January 6, 2021 gathered more people than Martin Luther King's speech did back in 1963. But will such dishonesty bother his voters?
So I think Donald Trump is going to have a more difficult time being convincing to the independent voters, who might be also growing tired of his rhetoric. The fact that he's being very aggressive, that he's being very personal in his attacks, that there's very little merit.
During his Palm Beach appearance, Trump also questioned his opponent's intelligence.
What you got?
She's not smart enough to do a news conference. And I'm sorry, we need smart people to lead this country.
But the lack of credibility in Trump's claims breeds other issues the candidate is now facing. According to a new Morning Consult poll, 58% of respondents believed Trump was in good health when he was running against Biden. That number is now down to 52%. Trump is now officially the oldest presidential candidate. The same age-targeting campaign that caused Biden to withdraw from the presidential race could come back to bite Trump.
He's the most popular Republican politician, and I don't think he wants to withdraw. He still has a chance of winning.
The age-focused narrative showcases the differences in how the 2 leading American parties operate.
I'd say that this is evidence that Donald Trump has hijacked the Republican Party, and that there's really nobody else that is equally popular, whereas the Democratic Party is that. It is a Democratic Party, and you can easily imagine one candidate being replaced by another.
Moreover, Kamala Harris's new running mate offers a great balance for the Democratic candidate.
She's perceived also as a radical, as a left-wing radical, which she is really not. She represents mainstream social democratic European ideas or democratic American ideals, but she's portrayed as one, as a threat to the status quo. So somebody like Tim Walz, who represents just mainstream kind of working class Midwest ideas and people, I think he was a good choice.
The next president of the United
The presidential race is already a historic one, and we can surely expect more interesting developments to follow. For now, some of the latest polls show Kamala Harris taking the lead in 3 key states: Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
Refugee athlete Manija Talash, originally from Afghanistan, was disqualified from the inaugural Olympic breakdance competition after displaying a "Free Afghan Women" slogan on her cape during the pre-qualifier. Talash, a 21-year-old member of the Olympic refugee team, sought asylum in Spain after fleeing Taliban rule in 2021.
The World Dance Sport Federation, overseeing the Olympic breakdance event, cited the game's ban on political statements in its decision to disqualify her. Talash's journey to the Olympics was already extraordinary. After missing registration for qualifying events, she was added to the Olympic roster following a special invitation from the International Olympic Committee. The gesture was a recognition of her efforts to challenge the Taliban's oppressive regime. The IOC established the Refugee Olympic team in 2016 to support displaced athletes. For the 2024 Paris Olympics, the team includes 37 athletes from 11 countries, representing over 100 million displaced people globally. The Paris Games already made history, with athlete Cindy Ngamba becoming the first ever medalist for the Refugee Olympic team, having won bronze in women's 75-kilogram boxing.
And I hope that my story kind of motivate all the refugees, athletes and refugees in general, and human in general, because let's not forget I'm a human at the end of the day, just like any other human around the world that goes through obstacles and strives through life, and there's the light at the end of the tunnel.
These athletes exemplify resilience and hope amid the challenges of their exile. Their selection is based on both sporting excellence and verified refugee status, emphasizing their remarkable achievements against overwhelming odds.
It's the penultimate day of the 2024 Paris Olympics, with most of the competitions entering the decisive phases. In the men's volleyball final, Poland was defeated 3-0 by the event's hosts, France.
With the support of the whole country behind them, the Polish players did their best to beat the Olympic champions from Tokyo. This time, the opponents were just too strong. Despite missing out on gold, many consider the result a massive success. It is the first volleyball Olympic medal for Poland in 48 years.
We have a medal and second place. We're happy with that. This is a sport which always delivers, and we are proud of both the volleyball men and women's teams. This second place has to be treated like a victory.
Fan zones were established across Poland, each filled to the brim with supporters of all ages.
We are very proud because this really is a job well done. They played till the end. Their incredible game against the US showed that you have to hope for the best. Silver is a really good result. We're really proud.
Well done to our Poles, of course. Silver is still silver. This is a huge achievement. They showed their quality in the match against the Americans, but today it was France's turn. Polish volleyball players are truly masters of the sport.
The silver somewhat improves Poland's situation in the Paris medal table. China, the US and Australia safely occupy the podium. Poland's tally will further increase this evening. Apart from Polish javelinist Maria Andrzejczyk's final this evening, Polish boxer and first-time Olympian 20-year-old Julia Szeremeta will fight for gold soon. Already guaranteed silver, she will take on Taiwan's multiple world champion Lin Yuting at 9:30 p.m. local time.
And we'll talk more about the success of Polish volleyballers and Polish performers at the Olympics with our guest, former Olympian Pavo Vitki, right after the news. The world-famous Arabian horse auction, Pride of Poland, is set to take place tomorrow in Janów Podlaski in eastern Poland. The annual auction has been attracting high profiles from all over the world for more than 5 decades now. The Pride of Poland auction in Janów Podlaski boasts worldwide recognition among horse aficionados. The stud farm was home to horses owned by Shirley Watts, wife of Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts, and the auctions were visited by rich investors from the US and the Middle East. But the farm's image was tainted amid claims of neglect under the former ruling party, Law and Justice. As profits plummeted and the stud farm was sold, the director replaced 7 times. The new management has promised to restore the farm to its former glory. Polish men's volleyball team lost to France in the Olympic final in Paris. Despite the 0-3 defeat against the hosts, Polish volleyballers have gained much praise as they won the first Olympic medal for the country since the gold in 1976. And to talk about this remarkable achievement, we're joined by Pavo Vitki, volleyball coach, former Polish national team player, gold medalist at the 2009 European Championship, only to name a few. Good afternoon, good evening. So, first of all, I'd like to ask you about your feelings about today's final. So, 10th of August 2024, a day that many will remember for a long time. Now, how emotional was this day to you? And what are your first thoughts after the Olympic final?
Not so good, like brutal game from France. They beat us. There is very good game from French side, and first game it was like disappointment. I don't know. This year it changed, and great feeling, like medal for. It's amazing thing for us.
So how would you sum up the Olympic campaign overall? Because as you said, the silver medal is an amazing feat for Poland, and well, I guess that the semi-final against the US will go down in history.
Oh no, it's like for Polish volleyball, it's like this. If we had some problem in the tournament, then at the end we finished some great. And for the team volleyball, not so great tournament. From volleyball side was like okay, but nothing special. But in the crucial moments in every game, players, they knew what to do. They go to win the games, and this was like most important. And if you ask me, semi-final was the crucial. Today I can say moment was the semi-final and that against USA. Today we have to celebrate, we have to enjoy, because now it's time to celebrate. We can wait for medal in Olympics long time, for 48 years. It's long.
There's every reason to celebrate. I agree with you. Now, you played at the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. Now, how would you rate the progress the Polish national team has done since then?
A good question. We started like 2000. Our federation decided to go. It's big question at the end, because a lot of things inside. Federation decided to make great hired contract in Beijing, and in 2008 was like the freshman team. A lot of players with experience who played level. In that time, not so big experience, international.
Maybe not such a big experience, but nevertheless great players. We remember your teammates from Olympics in Beijing, Pavo. Pavo Vitki, volleyball coach, former Polish national team player. Gold medalist at the 2009 European Championship, was our guest this evening. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. That is all for now, and stay with us for, of course, much more here on TVP World.